Mini ice age looms as NASA scientists warn lack of sunspots could bring record cold. Tyler Durden, Zero Hedge reports, the Sun is entering one of the deepest solar minima of the space age. This is what Dr. Tony Phillips wrote just 6 weeks ago, September 27. The lack of sunspots on our Sun could bring about record cold temperatures and perhaps even a mini ice age, he says. Our Sun was not expected to head into a solar minimum until around 2020, but it appears to be heading in that direction a little early, which could prove to be bad news for warm weather lovers. But a prolonged solar minimum could mean a mini ice age. The last time there was a prolonged solar minimum, it did, in fact, lead to a mini ice age, which was scientifically known as the Mulder minimum. Max Slavo of SHTF Plan says that sunspots have been absent for most of 2018, and Earth's upper atmosphere is responding, says Phillips, editor of Space Weather. According to Phillips, this is bad news. He says it also delays the natural decay of space junk, resulting in a more cluttered environment around the Earth. It could happen in a matter of months, says Martin Milczak of NASA's Langley Research Center on the cold snap that may be coming. If current trends continue, it could soon set a space age record for cold, he says. We're not there quite yet. However, months is not all that far away. Data from NASA's timed thermosphere, ionosphere, mesosphere, energetics, and dynamics, timed for short. The time satellite shows that the thermosphere, the upper layer of the air around our planet, is cooling and shrinking, literally decreasing the radius of the atmosphere. This reduces the solar activity that could result in a global cooling phase. According to Milczak for the New American, he says the thermosphere always cools off during solar minimum. It's one of the most important ways the solar cycle affects our planet. The new NASA findings are in line with the studies released by UC San Diego and Northumbria University in Great Britain last year, both of which predicted a grand solar minimum in coming decades due to the low sunspot activity. It is not difficult to prepare for the solar minimum and a much cooler climate, but it will take some time in getting used to. Give yourself ample opportunity to gather enough supplies and make sure you keep your mittens handy. I'll leave links below for you for this. And the video is from NASA.
Solar minimum is coming. Presented by Science at NASA. High up in the clear, blue noontime sky, the sun appears to be much the same day in, day out, year after year. But astronomers have long known that this is not true. The sun does change. Properly filtered telescopes reveal a fiery disk, often speckled with dark sunspots. Sunspots are strongly magnetized and they crackle with solar flares, magnetic explosions that illuminate Earth with flashes of X-rays and extreme ultraviolet radiation. The sun is a seething mass of activity. Until it's not. Every 11 years or so, sunspots fade away, bringing a period of relative calm. This is called solar minimum, says Dean Pesnell of NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, and it's a regular part of the sunspot cycle. The sun is heading towards solar minimum now. Sunspot counts were relatively high in 2014, and now they're sliding toward a low point expected in 2019 to 2020. While intense activity such as sunspots and solar flares subside during solar minimum, that doesn't mean the sun becomes dull. Solar activity simply changes form. For instance, says Pesnell, during solar minimum we can see the development of long-lived coronal holes. Coronal holes are vast regions in the sun's atmosphere where the sun's magnetic field opens up and allows streams of solar particles to escape the sun as the fast solar wind. Pesnell says, we see these holes throughout the solar cycle, but during solar minimum they can last for a long time, 6 months or more. Streams of solar wind flowing from coronal holes can cause space weather effects near Earth when they hit Earth's magnetic field. These effects can include temporary disturbances of the Earth's magnetosphere, called geomagnetic storms, auroras, and disruptions to communications and navigation systems. During solar minimum, the effects of Earth's upper atmosphere on satellites in low Earth orbit changes too. Normally, Earth's upper atmosphere is heated and puffed up by the ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Satellites in low Earth orbit experience friction as they skim through the outskirts of our atmosphere. This friction creates drag, causing satellites to lose speed over time and eventually fall back to Earth. Drag is a good thing for space junk, natural and man-made particles floating in orbit around Earth. Drag helps keep low Earth orbit clear of debris. But during solar minimum, this natural heating mechanism subsides. Earth's upper atmosphere cools and to some degree can collapse. Without a normal amount of drag, space junk tends to hang around. There are unique space weather effects that get stronger during solar minimum. For example, the number of galactic cosmic rays that reach Earth's upper atmosphere increases during solar minimum. Galactic cosmic rays are high-energy particles accelerated toward the solar system by distant supernova explosions and other violent events in the galaxy. Pesnell says that during solar minimum, the sun's magnetic field weakens and provides less shielding from these cosmic rays. This can pose an increased threat to astronauts traveling through space. Solar minimum brings about many changes to our sun, but less solar activity doesn't make the sun and our space environment any less interesting.
Kindly support my Patreon account, since that's the only way I can continue what you like seeing on this channel. Thank you. You'll find it in the description box below.